was the Friday before Christmas at a tragic gay strip club in San Francisco's seediest neighborhood. I was on a crowded makeshift dance floor dressed as a slutty elf cigarette girl, handing out, this is all true, handing out free Jaeger shots from my cigarette girl tray. Everybody wanted a shot or to say hi or to have a quick fondle of my jingle balls. I was Mary. Then, sweet baby Jesus, in a heartbeat, all my sexy fun stopped. Across the dance floor, I saw a tall woman in a ratty trench coat, leaning forward like into a stiff wind, with narrowed eyes and her hair raked back in an angry bun. Julie. She was coming straight for me, cutting a swath through all the dancers and prancers and vixens. A furious hot knife through all that gay butter. Julie was mean and smart and litigious and homeless. This woman would ruin my career in the real world, and before that, she would take down this whole party, kill all the boners of all the partying girls and boys. How could she even be in here? This rigid woman who had never smiled in her life was inside the silliest quasi-legal queer holiday bacchanal ever. I gripped the cigarette girl bar I was wearing and thought to myself, well, ho, 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 you little asshole. You thought you were clever enough to keep your party life and your professional life separate. How are you going to explain what's about to happen in the next 5 minutes back at work to your humorless boss, the hospital ethics committee, and the State Board of Behavioral Sciences? It's a very real question. Not just that night, by the way. Okay, that's a different story. Okay, so it was the early 2000s. I was a licensed clinical social worker, and I was working in an outpatient program at San Francisco General Hospital. Our offices were in these old trailers in the parking lot by the emergency room. I worked with people who had multiple serious problems: schizophrenia, HIV, Hep C, cirrhosis from drinking all day, every day, long-term homelessness, and heroin addiction. Some were in and out of jail. All of them were in and out of this emergency room. And I loved the work, hearing the clients' stories, seeing their stamina in the face of all the layers of shit and trauma they had been through. To work to support these people in their perilous lives was really serious business. It was life and death stuff, and it was a real privilege. By the time they got to me, I felt like these people had every right to give up on life. But here they were, showing up to see me, to see what I might be able to do to help them survive at a very basic level, but also see if I could help them make their lives a little bit better. It was exciting work. Every day, every client was different, every day was different. I had to be quick and careful and kind and ready for clients to say and do pretty much anything. There was an art to it, and my colleagues were great. Righteous, clever, compassionate, and scrappy. We helped each other's clients, supported each other, and went to happy hour all the time. And then one rainy day, my boss walked up to my desk and handed me this medical file folder that was overstuffed with all like the little metal brads and all the paper flowing out of it. She said, "This woman is going to be a challenge. Let me know what you need." And I had never heard my boss call any client a challenge before. We took the people in the trailer, our program took the people who'd been kicked out of every other program in San Francisco. Our trailer was where the crazy train stopped, literally, like we took everybody. I flipped through the file, complaints and investigations into other social workers and entire agencies filled the file. Julie's letters accused a series of people and agencies with failure to assign proper staff and priority was one of her favorite phrases, and she said her assigned social workers were poorly trained and unprofessional. Each complaint generated a series of formal responses, including updates on the investigations into these complaints, resulting in this nightmare of letterhead in my hands. The San Francisco Health Network of the Department of Public Health, the San Francisco General Hospital Complaints Office, the City Attorney's Office, the State Medi-Cal Agency, the Mayor's Office, and the Homeless Advocacy Organization. It was clear to me that my name was going to be all over the next batch of letterhead. She could say anything she wanted in these complaints. It was a huge hassle, even if I never did anything wrong. Julie dropped in the next day to meet me, her new social worker. She was dignified and imperious. She looked younger than her age, in the mid-50s, and had a challenging sort of vigor. She stood very straight with a long, jutting neck. I introduced myself. She looked down her nose at me like a Disney villain. She was fabulous and terrifying. I shook her cool, dry hand and took her through the narrow hallway of the trailer to one of the cramped appointment rooms. As we walked, she talked a mile a minute about her last social worker and how I was going to punish this person for her. She clucked her tongue and remarked about, "What a sad office this is. Is this really up to code, since you are part of the hospital, aren't you?" As we sat down, she evaluated me like a horse at auction. She leaned forward and started barking orders, very loud in this tiny room. She wanted me to file a complaint against this other case manager, some guy I had never met. I said I thought it was more important to focus on what she wanted to do for herself, like getting a medical appointment or working on housing since she was homeless. She read back as if she was scalded. "You are just like all the other ones. You don't know your job." She made threats against my career with more emphatic gestures and stood gathering up all her drama to storm out. Then she asked when her next appointment was and could I write her out an appointment reminder card. And I felt flattered that she was going to give me another opportunity to be insulted and harangued by her. So soon after this ominous meeting, it was Christmas, and I was helping throw the party in the all-nude strip club Porn Palace. I did this about once a month back then with a few friends. That's me on the left with the green pantyhose over my face. It was a big deal in the moment. Yeah, we threw cheap parties for cheap people in surprising locations that usually didn't know we were coming. It was a lot of fun, and it got elaborate. Here's the email invitation I wrote for this particular Christmas party with the accompanying photo essay. Yeah, get a load of that guy. So here's what the email said. Smut, turpitude, Santa. Gorilla Queer Bar presents I'm Dreaming of a White Necklace. It gets worse. A festive, throbbing slander of the season. Friday, December 19th at the Campus Theater with brave MC Peaches Christ and you know Peaches, she's the best, and special guest DJ John Cameron Mitchell, aka Hedwig. Live on stage, the Advent drag of the Ejaculate Conception Players, the gospel choir of Reverend Billy's Church of Stop Shopping, if you remember that, the Porn Clown Posse, plus live jack-off shows. $10 at the door. All proceeds will cover the venue and pay the entertainment. Due to the dicks and butts flying around free, the Campus Theater is a non-alcohol serving venue. So BYOB, because it can suck to be sober at the holidays. Jingle, jingle, you dirty freak. And that was the email. We had to decorate. Downstairs in the old theater building were the porn video booths with glory holes. So we brought in the Rankin Bass Christmas specials to replace the porn and taped mistletoe over both sides of all the glory holes. It was adorable. And then we had to wash our hands a lot. My Christmas elf cigarette girl outfit was homemade lederhosen from old corduroy pants, green tights, and a Peter Pan hat with a big feather. Believe me, if the rest of the costume still existed, I would be wearing it for you. But I'm sorry, this is all that we have. My friend Michael and I made our cigarette girl trays from thrift store briefcases with custom foam cutouts to hold our booze bottles. I had Jägermeister and Scotch. We added red bows and lights and other Christmas shit to mine. To Michael's, we added blue and silver and Stars of David and dreidels, and he had vodka and of course Manischewitz. So it's Hanukkah, Fegele. So these silly parties really actually meant a lot to me. I grew up in Marion, South Carolina, population 8,000, where pretty much everything I was doing for this party, like writing the phrase ejaculate conception, just that alone would have gotten me physically injured in my hometown. So to be totally free to put mistletoe over glory holes for the delight of the gay party world of the big crazy city of San Francisco, it was all that I never knew I always wanted. So the party starts. A couple of hours after we opened the door, it was a wild success. The place was packed and there was still a line around the block. We were proud. We were high. we were horny. My day job that I took so seriously was very far away. So Michael and I started giving out our shots on the dance floor. It was dark and crowded and our celebrity DJ Hedwig was playing fun music. I was getting kisses for shots. Not something I asked for, but okay, sure. And that's when I saw Julie. She was headed right toward me. famous elves in history. She was headed right toward me, or really toward my bar. Her head was pushed forward on that elegant neck. I couldn't figure out what she was doing here, how she got in, but she hadn't seen my face yet. She was focused on the little lights on my little bar that I was holding and the bottle of Jägermeister. But I had to get off the floor like right now. So I grabbed my bottles and I held them tight and I tried to turn around and I rammed a girl with my tray and I apologized to her and then I wiggled around some more and I finally had my back to Julie. But I was stuck. I couldn't move because, as it turns out, it's really hard to get across a crowded dance floor of happy alcoholics when you were dressed like a Christmas billboard with a lit up tray of free shots strapped to your chest. Just something to remember. So Michael with the Jewish, he's not even Jewish, but the Hanukkah bar. Michael yelled across all the people. He goes, "Where are you going?" And I couldn't answer him. I couldn't say, "Shut up, I'm running from somebody." And I really couldn't say, "I'm avoiding a client from work because of the ethical boundary issues of giving your clients alcohol and because of therapeutic transference and countertransference and because I don't want to have to explain this outfit or this Jaeger bar or live jack-off shows to the hospital administration and lose this job that I love." I heard Julie's voice behind me. "Excuse me, I need a drink." "Don't look back. Don't look back. Get out of here. Run the fuck over all these party people. Get out of here. Go, go, go." But then there was a hose on my lederhosen strap, and she said again, "I need a drink." I was caught. I turned around. I was at her mercy. She saw my face and her eyes got big. She paused. I was frozen. What was she going to do? Causing a scene is this woman's favorite hobby. I imagined her taking out her little notebook and making a list of all the little things that I was doing wrong and big things and what I was wearing. Instead, she smiled, serene, friendly even. She said, "Hello, Hunter. May I have a drink of what you have there?" Saying no was the safest thing to do, even if it set her off yelling. Social workers don't give their clients booze as a rule. There are rules, yeah. But I decided, fuck it. She's a person at the party too. I poured a half shot. That seemed like 50% of an ethical lapse. I handed it to her with a little elfin bow and I said, "Merry Christmas, Julie." She smiled and drank it. Someone behind me grabbed my ass. We looked at each other for a moment. She, a smart, suffering woman, taking a little break at this party from all of her days of fighting for herself all day long. And me, her social worker, being as ridiculous as possible with this crowd of happy freaks. I was jumping out of my skin to get away from her. She was more relaxed than I had ever seen her. She smiled her small smile again. With a crisp nod, she turned and started chatting with the young stranger standing behind her. Back at the hospital on Monday morning, I was back in my social worker calculated casual. Julie was on time for our appointment. As she hustled me along the narrow hallway, she proclaimed with one of her sweeping gestures, "The people here do try, but these offices are just a disgrace." She wasn't wrong. Neither one of us ever mentioned the party, that day or any other. We worked together for 3 more months before she fired me.
That's Hunter Gatewood.